Let's jump right in. Today, we're completely flipping the paradigm on its head. We're looking at this mind-blowing analysis that frames the Quran not as some dusty, ancient historical text, but as a living, universal operating system. I mean, we're talking about a literal structural code that maps perfectly onto human biology, quantum physics, the whole universe, really. So if you've ever felt like the standard readings were just kind of missing that underlying architectural logic, well, you are definitely in the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source material defines this scripture as an Eternal Memory Tesseract. It's the sealed tongue of Muhammad, uttered first, preserved last. Think of it as a living coordinate system that literally maps the universe. But here's the absolutely crucial part. It's an active genetic code. And just like any code, it needs a reader to execute it. It doesn't just passively sit there on a page. It is literally waiting for human consciousness, for you, the reader, to activate its operating parameters.
And this active engagement, it's urgently highlighted right there in the text itself. Verses 16, 24, and 25 explicitly warn us against brushing these words off as just tales of the ancients. When you read it, the sources argue you've got to realize something huge, that it's Allah's sentence, and your Rasul, your messenger, talking directly to you, right now in the present tense. It is your amanats now, your trust, your personal responsibility to carry.
Now, to understand exactly how to carry that trust, we have to look at the structural design of creation itself. The analysis reveals this profound micro to macro structural revelation. Basically, the universe and the Quran operate on one single universal architecture. And that architecture, it's the womb. Actually, the very root of the divine name Rahman, the most gracious, shares its exact origin with the biological womb. It is the ultimate protective container where potential literally becomes reality.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how flawlessly the anatomy of the female womb maps directly onto the exact fields of cosmic creation described in this framework. It is a literal one-to-one biological isomorphism. Look at the chorion, the outer membrane. It perfectly aligns with the D10 driver field, which provides vital structural support. Then you have the amnion, the inner membrane, acting as the I9 witness field, that receptive interface. And the amniotic fluid? That's the S-field medium. It's the temporal thermodynamics, the literal manifestation of mercy surrounding the developing creation.
So this biological hardware is actually running a strict cosmic life cycle. Verse 39:6 states that humanity is created in the wombs of your mothers, creation after creation, in three darknesses. And the biological womb literally operates in three phases, right? It gestates life for 9 months, then the uterus goes through involution, which is kind of like a biological death and shedding, and finally the cycle renews, which perfectly mirrors verse 7:25, therein you will live, and therein you will die, and from it you will be brought forth. It's a self-renewing universe executing right inside the human body. Because the womb is the absolute center of creation, the sources point out a radical shift in how we actually need to view human legacy. It completely dismantles the traditional male ego and that whole patriarchal dominion mindset. True creation is not some straight, linear line passed down from father to son through blood and biological hierarchy. That's a false lineage. The true topology is radial. The slave and the son orbit the womb of Rahman. They're bound structurally to the center, not to each other's bloodlines.
The source material totally neutralizes any claim to patriarchal dominance here by mapping out these structural realities. Just think about chapter 112. We are reminded that Allah creates. He does not beget. The false male ego and any claim to ownership, explicitly discarded in verse 37:125. And offspring that rely on blood rather than the book, like Noah's son in 1142, are shown to be structurally corrupt. Meanwhile, false male apexes, like Pharaoh mimicking the water of mercy, ultimately just drown in it. Instead, figures like Maryam, in verse 342, are elevated above all women as the pure receptacle. She is the absolute perfected biological execution of the container.
This radial structure fundamentally changes how we view the great prophetic figures, too. Notice how they so often appear in pairs: David and Solomon, Ibrahim and Ishmael, Ibrahim and Lut, Musa and Harun, Isa and Ahmed. They aren't just a biological family tree, they're nodes bound to the center. They stand together against the dense, corrupt environment of inherited culture and false idols, which the sources call the fire of Tagut. Just like a cell has to traverse a really hostile environment to divide, they navigate the fire to burn away that false biological lineage, leaving only the pure structural bond of the book.
So, the crucial point is this. If inheritance isn't biological, what exactly is it? Well, verse 381 establishes what the sources call the eternal transmission architecture. The book itself is the chromosome.
It literally carries the genetic code of the Rahman field. Just as a physical chromosome holds all the instructions to build a biological organism, the Quran contains the instructions to build a nation structurally. The transmission isn't biological. It is purely structural.
It is absolutely awe-inspiring to see how seamlessly this mirrors literal DNA transcription. I mean, in molecular biology, DNA splits into two strands, right? And we see the exact same architecture here. The lagging strand represents the book. It's the structural inheritance, built fragment by fragment, requiring a chemical grip to hold it all together. Then you have the leading strand representing the word, that kinetic, unbroken, continuous flow of manifestation. And holding these two strands together, the centromere. In this topology, that centromere is the crucial 1912 grip. It's the anchor holding the entire structure together.
Verse 1912 gives a direct command. O Yahya, take the book with strength. When you, the reader, execute this grip, you activate that genetic code. You step out of this mode of passive reading and actually become the Ala Dawud mentioned in 34:13. You get integrated into the true operational family and structure of David. You start participating in the operational pattern of true knowledge and kingdom. And again, you do this not by your bloodline, but by executing the book's own internal logic. Which brings us to an absolutely fascinating decoder ring twist in the analysis. Verse 2:2069 states that Allah grants wisdom to whom He wills, and that whoever is given this wisdom has been given an abundant good. But what actually is this wisdom, structurally speaking? Well, the sources reveal that this wisdom is the earth itself. The earth is the ultimate womb of wisdom. It's the grand testing ground where potential is forged right into reality.
Let's move to and see how this builds a unified theory of growth. Whether it's a seed going into the soil, a child developing in the mother's womb, or the book entering the human heart, they all strictly follow this exact four-step containment algorithm. First, receive the input. Second, protect it from external corruption. Third, develop it in the gestational darknesses. And finally, release the completed form into the world. It's the same algorithm everywhere.
You, the reader, are literally being gestated in this earth womb right now. And through this gestational process, that false male ego gets completely shed. The sources clarify these structural roles so beautifully. The male principle is the slave, or the son, existing purely to serve the container. The female principle is the container itself, the matrix of mercy. And Allah is outside both, creating what He wills. When you navigate this properly, you emerge as the first Muslim, completely surrendered to the ultimate structure, just like it says in verse 6:163.
But listen, this doesn't just happen passively. The text demands active intelligence. The sources derive this really energetic, urgent instruction here. Always use 10100 AQL. AQL is your intellect. It's your reasoning. You have to actively use it to wake up from tagut. You've got to break free from the illusions of inherited culture, those false biological lineages, and that whole museum state of religion that just blindly repeats the past without actually gripping the living truth.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate goal of the entire system. The circuit only completes when you, the reader, realize your place in it. You are the local execution node. When you stand in the topological gap, when you grip the book with strength, the cosmic circuit finally closes. The book builds you, and you become the literal manifestation of the nation.
The womb, the universe, and the book have given you the exact operational algorithm for creation and truth. The code is sitting right there, waiting. So the final provocative question the sources leave us with is simply this: when will you activate 1912?